Welcome to G Fun Facts Online, where we dive deep into the wonders and sometimes the worries of our planet. Today, we're tackling a critical issue lurking beneath the waves, a silent killer that's threatening the very foundations of our Caribbean marine ecosystems. We're talking about Stony Coral Tissue Loss Disease, or SCTLD. Imagine vibrant underwater cities, teeming with life, suddenly falling victim to a rapidly spreading plague. That's the reality for Caribbean coral reefs. First spotted off the coast of Miami back in 2014, SCTLD has now become an international crisis, confirmed in at least 33 countries and territories. It's a devastating disease, causing rapid tissue loss in corals, leading to high death rates, often within weeks or months. This isn't just any coral ailment. SCTLD is one of the most lethal coral diseases ever recorded, posing a massive threat to marine biodiversity, coastal economies, and the overall health of these precious reef ecosystems. So what makes SCTLD such a formidable enemy? Well, it's both mysterious and incredibly aggressive. The disease doesn't discriminate much, affecting over 20, and some reports say even over 30, species of stony corals. These aren't just any corals. They include the crucial reef-building giants like brain, pillar, star, and starlet corals. Think about this. In some affected areas, populations of highly susceptible species have plummeted by over 90%. The disease shows up as lesions of dead tissue that just race across the coral, leaving behind nothing but a white, calcium carbonate skeleton. We're talking about massive coral colonies, some that have stood for hundreds of years, wiped out in a matter of weeks. It's heartbreaking. And the kicker? Despite intensive research, the exact culprit behind SCTLD is still a bit of a ghost. Scientists believe it's a waterborne pathogen, possibly bacterial. It can spread through direct contact, through water currents, and maybe even through the ballast water from ships. Some studies even hint that viruses linked to the symbiotic algae living within coral tissues might be involved. Adding to the mystery, research suggests that seafloor sediments could be a reservoir for these disease-causing microbes. This means activities that stir up these sediments, like coastal construction or dredging, could actually be making the spread worse. The impact of SCTLD isn't just on the corals themselves, it's an ecological domino effect. Coral reefs are the rainforests of the sea, biodiversity hotspots, providing food, shelter, and breeding grounds for countless marine species. When stony corals, the main architects of these reefs, die off, the whole system starts to crumble. Fish populations that rely on the reef suffer, and even crustose coralline algae, that tough pink crust vital for reef building, diminishes. A recent study paints a stark picture. While some opportunistic or weedy organisms like macroalgae and cyanobacteria might initially thrive by taking over the space left by dead corals, this leads to a less complex, seaweed-dominated environment. This new landscape simply can't support the rich biodiversity of a healthy coral reef. And as time goes on, the dead coral skeletons erode, further threatening reef fish communities. The economic fallout is also huge. Caribbean nations depend heavily on healthy reefs for tourism and fisheries, industries that generate billions of dollars annually. This disease isn't just an ecological crisis, it's an economic one too. But it's not all doom and gloom. Scientists, conservationists, and international agencies are in a desperate race against time, and they're fighting back on multiple fronts. A top priority is, of course, identifying the pathogen. Knowing exactly what causes SCTLD is key to developing effective long-term treatments and prevention strategies. In terms of treatment, various methods are being tested. The most common one right now involves applying an antibiotic paste, often amoxicillin-based, directly onto the lesions on infected corals. This has shown success in slowing or stopping the disease on individual colonies. However, there are valid concerns about potential antibiotic resistance and the broader impact on the reef environment. So the hunt for alternative treatments is a big focus. One really promising alternative is probiotics. Yes, just like the ones for your gut. The idea is to introduce beneficial bacteria to the coral's microbiome to help it fight off the disease. Recent studies have shown that a probiotic strain called MCH1-7 can actually slow the spread of SCTLD in infected wild corals and might even offer longer-lasting protection than antibiotics. How cool is that? For the most vulnerable and endangered coral species, rescue missions are underway. This involves moving corals to land-based facilities. Think of them as coral arks for treatment and safekeeping. Novel ex situ, or out of water, treatment protocols using things like hydrogen peroxide dips and multi-component antibiotic treatments have shown high success rates with no reinfection in treated corals. These coral arks are crucial for preserving genetic diversity for future reef restoration. Monitoring is also key. Extensive programs are tracking the disease's spread and impact. Citizen science initiatives and online reporting platforms, like the Atlantic and Gulf Rapid Reef Assessment (AGRRA) database, are playing a huge role in gathering data and raising awareness. Every bit of information helps. Researchers are also trying to understand why some coral species are more susceptible than others and are actively looking for resilient individuals that survive the disease. This knowledge is vital for guiding restoration efforts, focusing on more resistant types of coral. And that brings us to restoration. As SCTLD unfortunately becomes a long-term resident in some areas, the focus is shifting towards rebuilding affected coral populations. This includes outplanting SCTLD-susceptible corals that have been successfully treated or reared in nurseries. Finally, there are management and prevention strategies. These include simple but effective things like decontaminating dive gear, managing ballast water from ships, and sometimes even temporarily closing off affected dive sites. There are also efforts to develop preparedness plans for regions still untouched by SCTLD, especially in the Indo-Pacific, to stop it from spreading even further. This fight against SCTLD is a massive global collaborative effort. Organizations like NOAA, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the Institute of Marine Affairs, along with numerous universities and nonprofits, are all working together. Workshops and knowledge sharing are crucial for spreading best practices and lessons learned across the Caribbean and beyond. NOAA even has a specific strategy for stony coral tissue loss disease response and prevention, outlining a comprehensive plan for research, detection, intervention, and restoration. So what's the future for Caribbean reefs? The crisis, driven by SCTLD, is undeniably an urgent ecological challenge with far-reaching consequences. The battle to understand and combat this disease is ongoing and tough, but the dedication of scientists, conservationists, and managers offers a real glimmer of hope. Through continued research, innovative treatments, proactive management, and most importantly, collaborative action, the goal isn't just to save individual corals. It's to preserve the incredible biodiversity and the essential ecological services that Caribbean reefs provide for all of us, and for generations to come. The race is on, and the stakes for these vibrant underwater ecosystems couldn't be higher. That's all for this episode of G Fun Facts Online. Join us next time as we explore another fascinating corner of our world. Thanks for listening.